Welcome on board the Rich Planet Starship, broadcasting from somewhere high above the Earth. I'm Richard D. Hall. On today's show, I will be featuring an interview recorded in March 2011 with another alleged mind control victim, James Casbolt. But before that, have you filled in your census form? Are you feeling a tiny bit guilty because you haven't completed it yet? Well, one person who hasn't filled in his census form is Ben Emlyn Jones. We caught up with him in Lytham St Anne's to witness his protest and his uncanny management of the government's questionnaire. So what's the reason why you're doing this, Ben?
Because the census is an act of big brother imposition on the people of this country. They say you've got to answer these questions and they threaten you if you say no. I mean, and they threaten you with a £1,000 fine, and it's all run by an American arms contractor called Lockheed Martin.
Really?
And they're awful. Okay. Hospital Porters Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. I'm at the Probe Conference at St Anne's in Lancashire, and you're about to witness a ceremony of desecration. Bring forth the defiler. Is this the defiler? The sentence of this court.
Let's get rid of it.
That's like you be burned at the stake until you are dead.
Yay! Yay! Boom!
Burn! 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 Oh, come on.
The scourge.
Burn! Burn!
We're not gonna have a look.
Hang on.
Right.
If anyone was a
Are we
smoker.
gonna turn it inside its road?
Yeah. Sorry about the delay, ladies and gentlemen. That's it, going. Yes, that's it.
There we are.
Burn! 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 Burn!
Burn!
This one's going to go viral. Yay!
Back to hell.
Where you belong. Return these ashes to the census office. This is not my form, this is our Stain and Chris's form. We're going to return them to the census form. Yeah.
What, you're going to return it as ashes?
We are. When these ashes are cooled down, we've saved the envelope, we're going to put them in and we're going to send them back.
With a nice message.
What do you say to people who think that you're just a bit mad for doing this, Ben? What's your answer to that?
I think you're mad actually if you feel this. If people are coming to you and asking you questions, for no other reason than they want to ask you questions, and if you provide false information, they tell you you're providing false information when they are the ones asking you the questions. I think that's crazy because you can say to them, well, if you think you know better and you think you know more about my life than I do, then why don't you fill the form in for me? So
Absolutely.
I mean, the whole thing about it is mad. It's all crazy. Well, we just told them we had a little accident. We were trying to light our cigarette and the census form caught light. Oh, ow, ow, ow. Ooh, ow. We were a bit cold.
It's a senseless form now.
The senseless form, yeah.
Do they not need this information in order to set policies and stuff like that, Ben?
Well, the thing is, though, whenever they want to set policies and stuff, they just do other surveys, which leads me to suspect there's another reason for this census form, which they're not telling us.
Right.
Especially when people like Lockheed Martin are involved. I mean, the government say, well, your data is safe with us. However, they've left submarine blueprints in laptops in cars, and they left social security details down the backs of chairs in trains. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do with these ashes now, are they cool enough? Any ashes that we can revive, we have the envelope, we're just going to return these ashes to the people they came from.
Not much left of it now.
There's enough, yeah, there's barely an envelope full, but I think there's enough to sort of like be going on with. There's enough to sort of satisfy the census people, I think. You know, we are actually returning the form in
a slightly different state.
Slightly more carbon and oxygen probably than it arrived in, but now we're going to. I'm not going to lick the envelope because they can take your DNA from that. I'll just fold
I think they'll be able to find who you are, Ben.
Well,
you're going to put it on your channel, aren't you?
Well, but I mean, the thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, Sue, Let me speak to people. Let me speak to the people.
Get them on hip.
They
I'll stand
can't
here as well.
prosecute you. They say they can prosecute you, but they're not. There's last time there were 1 million defaulters, and there were 38 prosecutions. I'd be very surprised if there will be a single prosecution this time, because it'll be like the poll tax 20 years ago. You know, they're all full of bravado. We can send you to jail, we can threaten you with Greek buggery and all this sort of thing. And when it actually comes to it, they can't prosecute people. There's a backlog of poll tax defaulters that's going to go back 150 years. And this is going to be the same again, because more people are defaulting this time. Janet Street Porter, this woman who writes in the Daily Mail, which is hardly a revolutionary journal, has said she's advocating breaking the law and not filling out your census form. Millions of people are going to default. The jails are full, the courts are full. Don't be scared. Don't let them frighten you. Okay? So we're now going to return this to whence it came. Thank you for watching Hypnosis TV. Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity stopped the New World Order.
Right, last night we witnessed the satanic ritual of Ben burning his census form, and we've just found this poster which is reminding you it's time to fill it in, Ben.
Oh, fill it in. Fire is wasted on witches, you know. It's best for the census form, but this is unbelievable. Just listen to this. Complete your census online or drop it in the post today to avoid a fine. Well, as we've already discussed, it's very unlikely anyone will get prosecuted for defaulting on their census at all. However, just look at this. Listen to this. Help tomorrow take shape. Oh my goodness. Has anyone got a sick bag?
Okay. Thanks for that, Ben.
All right, that's enough obscene publications for one day, eh, Richard?
Ben Emlyn Jones there, and you can read Ben's blog, The Hospital Porters Against the New World Order, at hapanwo.blogspot.com. And there's a nice picture of Ben in his hospital porter's uniform. Moving on, and from that light-hearted piece to a dark subject, that of military mind control programs. For those not up to speed on the claims of mind control, here's a very brief summary. The claims are that certain sections of military and/or intelligence agencies in the US, UK, Canada, and possibly other countries take very young children or babies, perhaps of specific bloodlines, and from before they can speak, subject them to trauma in order to fracture the mind and create what are called alters, or multiple personalities. These children, once grown up, can then be used for a range of military, espionage, or propaganda purposes by those who control them. Control is allegedly achieved using hypnosis, drugs, and psychotronic devices, which are technology implanted inside the programmee's body. A few weeks ago, I featured the testimony of Alistair and Dave Marrow, which gave an overview of their claims. You can watch this again from the richplanet.net website from the Starship page. The episode is entitled Dave Marrow. This week's guest is another self-claimed mind control victim, James Casbolt, who claims he has been used in Manchurian Candidate-style killings. Other than the testimony, there's little documentation or evidence to support his claims. Before I air the interview, I would like to point out that in my view, there are a range of possible explanations for James's testimony. I will leave it up to you, the viewer, to decide which is most likely. Scenario 1 is that everything stated is factual and actually happened. Scenario 2 is that James was part of a secret mind control program but has not killed anyone nor taken part in military exercises. He could have been programmed to say certain things as a disinformation agent. In other words, he has been put through mind control, but the information he gives is false or misleading. Scenario 3 is that James was part of a secret mind control program, has carried out missions, but for whatever reason, those controlling him have decided to change his remit and use him to spread information or disinformation, i.e. information which is partly true and therefore confuses the subject and causes people to disbelieve the claims entirely. The fourth scenario is that he has not been through any mind control programming and has fabricated the entire story. I'd be interested to know from viewers what their views are after watching this interview. Today I've travelled down to Lytham St Anne's and we've been at the Probe UFO and Paranormal Conference, and in the bar at the hotel where we are staying I happened to bump into James Casbolt. Now, James here is another alleged mind control victim, and we featured two mind control victims on the show a few weeks ago. They were Dave Marrow and a chap called Alistair, and James Casbolt was mentioned by Alistair. Now, you're 34 years old, James, so, and again, you, as other mind control victims have claimed, their experience goes back to, well, almost before they were born. So can you go back to that time and tell me, just tell me as you recall it from being a young child, what are your first memories?
Well, this goes back to 1976 when I was a baby. The name of the project that I was involved in was called Project IBIS, and this was run by the American National Security Agency and MI6. And
does that stand for anything?
IBIS, there's Nazi connections with that.
Right.
It connects to the Egyptian pyramids, Thoth.
Right.
And the Giza intelligence group, the Nazi group,
right.
that were based under the Giza pyramids. The project was started in 1972 at the Tavistock Institute in London.
Right.
And the project was started there by Dr. Green and some other people. Dr. Green being Joseph Mengele from the Auschwitz
right.
concentration camp.
All right. I heard he sort of fled to Argentina, I think. Is that he's the guy who was really interested in twins? And
Yeah.
so you claim he was in the UK doing research on mind control victims after? In
1972, he was in London, yeah, at
right.
Tavistock Institute.
Right, okay. So how have you gleaned that information? Because you weren't born in 72, you were...
That's on file. That's been there's been various file data passed to me.
Right.
That particular information has been passed to me by the SAS.
Right. Okay. And now, are you at liberty to disclose the documentation? To actually...
I haven't got the documentation. It's from a database.
Right.
And then it's been passed to me from the database.
So, if you start from being a baby and what happened to you, because were you adopted?
I was born into the project. The origins of Project IBIS were at a facility called the Q552 facility, and that was underground in the Rocky Mountains in Canada.
Right.
Now that was underground in a little town called Nelson there in the mountains.
Right.
And the base was above ground and underground.
Right.
There, above ground, it was just like a big, the main section of it was like a big aircraft hangar. And
so how old would you be at this point?
I was a baby.
Right, all right.
And Project IBIS was 42 children.
Right. In Canada?
They were all in Canada at the Q552 facility, but they were brought there from different countries.
Right.
Women had given birth to them, and they were all brought over to this particular facility, raised there as orphans.
So, for the outside world, this place was just considered as an orphanage then? Is that...
No, it wasn't considered. It was just a base in the mountains.
Right. So the public had no knowledge that these children were in this base then?
No.
Right,
no.
so it was hidden. So were you being brought up by nannies or what
Well, the children were brought over from, some of them were from Canada, America, obviously UK, and I think there was some from South America, all over the place, but it was 42 children who were tracked.
Right.
DNA was tracked.
Right.
Apparently the NSA IBIS file states that the NSA were looking for blood prime.
Right.
They say it's Anunnaki blood.
Right, okay, so you were chosen, or you were possibly even, not chosen, but your parents, your lineage was selected perhaps before you were born.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They knew that you were going to have this DNA, and then you were brought into that project. That's what you're saying. Okay, so are you saying then that you didn't have a mother and father type situation when you were growing up then, or?
I was raised in the base for 4 years,
Right.
From 1976 to 79.
Okay.
The base was, it was basically a trauma centre.
Right.
They were,
Okay, so I'll just interrupt you again. If I think back to my childhood, I can remember going to nursery when I was 3. So I can remember, you know, having a normal family life. So you were sat with these other 40 children having a meal, or were you always together? I mean,
we were together most of the time. When we were babies, I mean...
so it was like in a dormitory, or what was
when we were babies, I mean, the mind records everything photographically. I mean, this isn't a lecture about how the mind works, but just to mention, the mind records everything photographically, especially trauma. So you can remember everything, if you've got the tools to do it back to the time you were born.
Right.
From my deprogramming, it was, when we were babies, we were actually kept in the building above ground in the mountains, and this was it was basically an aircraft hangar, and they used to keep the doors open, and it was just a series of cots, and it was a trauma centre.
Right. Okay.
So they wanted to keep us cold.
Right.
So they keep the doors open. We were under armed guard 24 hours a day.
Right.
So because there were groups, I've been told, who wanted to rescue us.
Right.
So we were under armed guard 24 hours a day, so we couldn't be rescued.
So the trauma is there to fracture the mind and create alters, is that?
Yeah, they did. They did a lot of programming with wild animals there, because they used a particular room which they had this. It was like a pen set up, and it was very similar to a Skinner box, which is used in psychiatry.
Right.
Where they, in experiments with the Skinner boxes, they put babies in with animals and things like that, cognitive behaviour tests.
Right.
So what they were doing, they'd put us in this pen with various wild animals, and what they were doing was they were giving us the attributes of various animals, because when we were older, we were used in a lot of all-terrain warfare,
right?
Jungle warfare, Arctic warfare,
right?
In different countries around the world. So
now,
you needed to have animal senses.
All right, all right. Now, some people will find that hard to believe, James. What do you say to people? I mean, I guess it's difficult for you to come out with any tangible proof of what you're saying. I mean, at what point did you come to the UK then? After you
81.
And how old were you in 81?
About 5 or 6.
Right. Yeah. So did you go from this Canadian base? Tell me when you left the base.
Well, what happened? I grew up for the first 4 years, from 76 to 79, in this base.
Right.
Every day we were being trained and conditioned.
Did you ever see the light of day?
Well, when we were in the aircraft hangar section of it, the doors were open, but the place was fenced off. Most of the time it was underground.
Right.
And we were pushed to the limits every day there.
Right.
And some of us were pushed into near-death experiences where we had to be resuscitated.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you then came over to the UK, and can you remember arriving in the UK, or do you have any memory of that?
We were rescued from that facility by a
so
Special Forces team in '79.
And which country did the Special Forces team belong to? Was that a Canadian?
No, I think they're American Special Forces.
Right.
And they're connected to Delta Force.